So I was saying that to execute a document means to prepare and to submit the document in the way that is required. Now, after you have done that, you also require to submit a document we call compliance form number 208. Now, this form is a declaration by an advocate of the High Court, which seeks to tell the registrar that I have perused all these documents in this file and they are in compliance with the Companies Act. Now, this is meant to ensure that the registrar does not have a lot of work to keep on perusing the documents every now and then. You can imagine all the guys forming the companies in Kenya, kila mtu anapeleka, tuseme like there are 12 documents that are required. Moja anapeleka 2 documents, ingine 8 documents, ingine zote, but they are only filled. The registrar will have a lot of work. So that aspect is delegated to you as the promoter of the company or the person forming the company, that you look for your own lawyer, na ulipe. Then your lawyer ahakikishe that what you are now to submit as a file of your documents to the registrar is in compliance with the Companies Act. So upon submission of this together with these documents, the registrar peruses them. And if the registrar is satisfied, then they give what we are calling the certificate of incorporation. Now, certificate of incorporation, as we will be saying as we go by and by, is like the birth certificate of the company. And for the private company, private limited company, immediately you get that certificate, you can commence business there and there. But on the other side, for the public limited company, you cannot start business there and there. You have to wait until the registrar gives you a certificate that says that the shares that you have allotted, they are not less than what was authorized as the minimum capital. We will have a topic on capital, the minimum share capital. And that minimum share capital is shown in what we had said here, the statement of capital. So the registrar lazima akuwe sure that you already have raised the money. You have raised the money that you had said is the minimum required to do business. So upon that satisfaction, you are given that certificate, and from there now you can commence business. So those are the 4 steps that are followed if you want to form a company in Kenya. Let's proceed and now look at promoters of a company. Promoters of a company. Promoters of a company. Promoters of a company, and we write that a promoter is a person who undertakes to form a company with respect to a given project. Undertake to form a company with reference to a given project and to set it going. And take the necessary steps to accomplish that purpose. And takes the necessary steps to accomplish that purpose. A promoter performs the following promotion acts. The following promotion acts. following promotion acts. Number 1, preparation and submission. Preparation and submission of all the requirements. Preparation and submission of all the requirements for registration. Of all the requirements for registration. Number 2, appointment of the first directors. Appointment of the first directors. First directors, secretary and signatories. Secretary and signatories. Number 3, negotiation of preliminary contracts. Negotiation of preliminary contracts. Negotiation of preliminary contracts. Number 4, paying of preliminary expenses. Paying of preliminary expenses. So that is what we mean by promoter. And we are saying a promoter is a person who undertakes to form a company. And this company obviously is formed with respect to a particular project or a particular purpose. And he does not only form, but he should make sure that the company is functional. He should set it in motion. And he undertakes to do all what is required. Now, all what is required is what we are calling promotion acts. And although we shall discuss more when we look at duties of the promoters, we have just given 4 as a summary of everything. That number 1, he must prepare all the documents and submit. The documents that we have just listed here, he must prepare them and submit. And then he must also appoint the first directors. Who will be the first director? Who will be the first company secretary? Who will be the bank signatory? And that one we had mentioned in step number 2, that it is our CR1 form. The other thing is that he must negotiate for what we call preliminary contracts. You see, one of the things that we shall be discussing as we go by and by is what we have said there, the memorandum of association, that is the CR2. And one of the contents of the CR2 is the registered office. Where will the company be operating from? Now, where the company will be operating from quite often may not be your own premises. So, unaenda kukodesha mahali. So, how do you agree with the landlord? And the company has not yet been formed. So, those are part of what we are calling the preliminary contract. Again, we have mentioned that there will be Form 208 that will be signed by the lawyer. How do you agree the terms with the lawyer? It is about preliminary contracts, and the promoter should do that. And then all those processes, the issue of the contract, the issue of the documents, the issue of appointing the secretaries may involve money. And at this point, the company has not been given permission to raise money. So as the promoter, you need to know how to meet the preliminary expenses. Let's look at duties of promoters. Duties of promoters. And write that the duties of promoters are divided into 2. Are divided into 2. So number 1, so we shall mention and discuss. Number 1 is general or common law duties. General or common law duties. general or common law duties. That's number one. So under this, we can have Roman 1. Roman 1 is exercise reasonable care and skill. Exercise reasonable care and skill. Roman 2. Determine and settle on the company's name. Determine and settle on the company's name. Roman 3. Cause the company to be registered. Cause the company to be registered. Number 4, appoint first directors. Appoint first directors. Number 5, meet preliminary expenses. Meet preliminary expenses. Number 6, acquire assets for use by the company. Acquire assets for use by the company. So those are the common duties or the common law duties of a promoter. And we are saying number 1, he shall do whatever he's doing under due diligence. He must exercise care. He must use skills. He must not do sort of work. Number 2, he must be able to determine the name. That is what we said in step number 1 of formation of the company. Then he must cause the company to be registered. That means he must take the 4 steps that we have just outlined. Then he appoints the first directors. He will pay the preliminary expenses, as we have said, and he should also acquire the assets that will be used by the company. For example, we require the stamp, the common seal. We may require the office. We may require the chairs. We may require to partition. We may require the office stationaries, kina staplers, kina all those other things, computers. We may also even require the car or a vehicle, and so on and so on. So all those are done by the promoter, depending on the nature of the company. So later on, you shall check the question of August 2022, question 3A. Just note there. Just note directly below that. August 2022, question 3A. Number 2 now, fiduciary duties. Fiduciary duties. Second type of duties that the promoter will be expected to execute. Right, that these duties arise. These duties arise if some or all, if some or all the shares of the company when formed will be allotted to other people. Will be allotted. Be allotted to other people. Be allotted to other people. Whereby the promoter is deemed. Whereby the promoter is deemed to act as an agent. Is deemed to act as an agent of those other people. Act as an agent of those other people. First of all, the duties are as follows. Duties are as follows. Roman 1. Account for any benefits obtained. Account for any benefits obtained through acting as a promoter. Account for any benefits obtained through acting as a promoter. Roman 2. Not to put himself in a position, not to put himself in a position where there is a conflict of interest. Put himself in a position where there is a conflict of interest. Number 3, provide full information. Provide full information on all transactions. Full information on all transactions and for all monies related to them. And for all monies related to them. Related to them. And number 4, not to make unfair use of his, not to make unfair use of his position. Now, when we talk about fiduciary, we are talking of an element of servanthood. We are talking of an element of faithfulness. We are talking of an element of honesty, particularly where you are acting on behalf of someone. It is required that you act with all honesty. It is required that you seek to serve the interest of the person for whom you are acting. So if the promoter is forming a company and he has the intention that later or many years, or rather later or soon, he will issue some shares or all the shares, because there are guys who specialize in forming a company, alafu wanauza yote. So if he will sell everything or some of them to some other person, then in the eyes of law, he is deemed to be an agent of those persons that will buy the share later. And therefore, he must comply with these duties. Number 1, we are saying he must mention any benefit that he has gotten through acting as a promoter. Maybe when he was dealing with the lawyer akamwambia, naona uko na kesi ingine hapa, now that umenipea hii kazi, hii nitakufanyia for free. Ama when he was dealing with the landlord akaambiwa, sasa now that umechukua hii floor yote, na mimi nitakufanyia hii, ama na I'll give you the kickback. You know the issue of the kickbacks. So he should account for all that. The other thing is he should not put himself in a position where there is a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest arises where more than one persons are interested in one thing, and that one thing cannot be subdivided so that everyone who is interested to take a share. For example, you people, you have paid your money to come to Destiny so that you can be taught company law. I am here working, teaching you at Destiny so that I can be paid a salary. And that salary is coming from your money. Now, I can still get that money via requesting you not to pay to Destiny, but you pay directly to me, alafu nikufunzie ka ofisi kingine niko nako hapo nje. It's possible. Ndio. Na hoja yako si wewe ni ufunzi. Hoja yako si necessarily mahali unalipa pesa. Now, Destiny as a school is interested in you. Me as a person, I'm interested in you. But we cannot subdivide you. Part moja yako iende Destiny, part ingine iende kwa Kimani. So that creates a point of conflict of interest. So as a director, you must remove those kind of conflicts of interest. I saw the other day, this guy who was appointed the CBK board chair, Musangi. He had to resign from the board of CBN Bank. Musangi is married to the daughter of the late Kiubia, the owners of the CBN at the center. So now that amechaguliwa kwenda Central Bank, whose main duty is to regulate the other banks, he cannot be the chair huko na bado ni director wa CBN. Director wa CBN. So he had to resign because that would be, he would be accused of conflict of interest. The other thing is, you must provide all the information about every transaction you happen. Put all the papers at the table. Sema nilicontract huyu wakili, nilicontract huyu value, nilicontract huyu na huyu, pesa ikaingia hivi ama ikatoka hivi, disclose everything. And then don't make unfair use of your position. Usianze kuajiri watu even before the company is formed. Usianze kuuza mashamba ama kununua, to do anything that will benefit you at the expense of the company simply because you are the promoter. So those duties must not be there. Okay, another sentence below that, we write that a promoter may make a legitimate profit. A promoter may make a legitimate profit as a result of their position, if he had acquired a property, before promoting a company, and then sells it to the company, at a profit, provided he fully discloses it. A promoter is said to make a wrongful profit. Wrongful profit. If he enters into a contract as a person, and makes a profit as a promoter. Okay. A promoter is said to make a wrongful profit. If he enters. Okay. Yeah, so we are saying that if you owned an asset, tuseme ulikuwa na shamba and you are forming a company to do agriculture, and that company will require that farm, you can sell the farm to the company and the profit. But when the other directors or the other shareholders come, waambie hii shamba ilikuwa yangu before I formed the company na nikauzia kampuni at this profit. When you fully disclose, that is okay. It is called legitimate profit. But if you enter into a contract in your private capacity, and then sasa unataka kuipindua ikue that the contract is binding the company, it is the company to fulfill the requirements of the contract, and then you are making a profit out of that fulfillment, then that will be wrong. For example, you entered into a contract with a person that will buy a vehicle before you form the company. But that contract, sasa unataka the company to pay the owner of the vehicle. And in doing so, you will make a profit. Or even vice versa, you want the company to buy. But the contract was personal. It had nothing to do with the company. Now that is called wrongful profit. So you can take note of September 2015, question 1A. September let's look at remedy for breach of a promoter's fiduciary duty. Remedy for breach of a promoter's fiduciary duty. Remedy for breach. Mtu akikiuka, what happens? Point number 1. If the promoter does not make a proper disclosure, if the promoter does not make a proper disclosure, if the promoter does not make a proper disclosure, of a legitimate profit, proper disclosure of a legitimate profit, or if they make a wrongful profit, or if they make a wrongful profit, the primary remedy of the company, is to reside. Primary remedy of the company is to reside the contract and recover its money. Reside the contract and recover its money. Full stop. If it is too late to return the property, if it is too late to return the property, it's too late to return the property, or the company prefers to keep the property, or the company prefers to keep the property, the wrongful profit can be recovered. The wrongful profit can be recovered. But point number 2. The promoter has a fiduciary liability. Sorry, the promoter has a statutory liability. Promoter has a statutory liability. Statutory liability to compensate anyone. Ability to compensate anyone who acquired shares. Compensate anyone who acquired shares relying on a prospectus. Relying on a prospectus that was untrue or misleading. Relying on a prospectus that was untrue. True. Or misleading, all had errors of omission. All had errors of omission. Full stop. Full stop. Still on the same point, we write, the promoter is liable to the company. The promoter is liable to the company. The company and or third parties. And all third parties. And or third parties. And his death. And his death, comma, insanity, or bankruptcy. Bankruptcy cannot relieve his estate. Cannot relieve his estate from this liability. Relieve estate from this liability. So we are saying that if the promoter has violated the fiduciary duty, that is, he has made a profit which was legitimate, but he never disclosed. So tumekuja kugundua in our own ways. Ndio tunagundua hii kumbe hapa ilikuwa hivi na hivi. Or maybe he made a wrongful profit. And even the disclosure of that does not make it legitimate because he benefited from a personal contract. Now, in that case, the company can rescind the contract. Aseme hapana, sisi hiyo maneno hatujui, it's not binding to us. And therefore, we shall not continue to fulfill the obligation of the contract. And we do not stand accused or accusable, if there is a word like that, of breaching the contract. However, if for some reasons the company realizes that we jamaa alivunja sheria, but we still need the property. Hii shamba tunahitaji, hii gari tunahitaji, ama it was too late to return. What they will do, they will compute the profit he earned. Wamwambie sasa rudisha hii profit. Ulifaa kutuuzia 2 million, but ukauza 3 million. So you made a profit of 1 million. So that balance you need to give us back. The other thing is, if the promoter has invited people to buy shares, he has issued the prospectus, and this prospectus is untrue, it is misleading, it has errors of omission, and people commit their money there and then they suffer. When they come complaining, the promoter is personally liable. And even the company itself can also claim from him. On top of paying the shareholders, the third parties, the company can say, wewe umetuharibia jina. Fanya tuonekane sisi ni wakora. Fanya tuonekane like we are scam. And remember we said when there is a company is perceived to be a scam, there will be the lifting of the veil of incorporation. So all those things that can come, the company can tell you to repay. And this is so serious that even if you die, mali yako bado itafuatwa. Even if you become mad or you become bankrupt, any asset, any estate you have, bado itafuatwa ndio ilipe those damages. So that tells you the gravity of that aspect. So you can take note of November 2019, question 2A. November 2019, question 2A. November 2019, question 2A. Let's now look at remuneration of a promoter. Remuneration of a promoter. Remuneration of a promoter. And we write that a promoter has no legal rights. A promoter has no legal rights against the company to claim any remuneration for two reasons. To claim any remuneration for two reasons. Two reasons. Number one, the company did not ask him to promote it. The company did not ask him to promote it. Number two, the company after incorporation, cannot enter, after incorporation cannot enter into a binding contract, to pay him, binding contract to pay him, since this is a past consideration. This is a past consideration. So once again, those are online. Once you get logged out, you log in immediately. Since this is a past consideration.